Hello there, it's a Flip Chart Friday, and that's exactly why I'm here with more hints, tips, tools and techniques about presentations. My name is David Duffett at Let the Geek Speak, and the whole point of all of these videos is to make your presentations even better and even more effective. Today, I would like to talk to you about your connection with your audience. And I'd like to start by asking you this question. Have you ever attempted to watch a video on YouTube, Vimeo, BitChute, Rumble, Brand YouTube, whichever, some video streaming platform, and maybe the video has started to play, or maybe it even hasn't got that far, and you see that little buffering symbol, a little circle going round, and it might even say buffering, but whatever, you're not getting to watch the video that you would like to watch, and it's very, very frustrating. Has that ever happened to you? I thought as much. It's happened to everybody. Anybody that's tried to watch a video has had that happen at one stage or another, I'm sure. But let me ask you this question. What does that indicate when you see the kind of little buffering thing, or maybe it's going that way, don't know which way around because of the video, but when you see that little that thing happening and you're not getting to watch the video that you would like to watch, what is the problem? What is the underlying issue that's causing that? Exactly. It's the connection, isn't it? We know that it's indicative that the connection is not there with the other end where we want to stream the video from. Now, we don't know, we might have a good idea, but we don't know exactly where the problem is. Maybe it's our local Wi-Fi network. Maybe there's an issue between the device we're trying to watch on and the network in the building. Maybe it's a problem with the network in the building. Maybe there's some kind of issue with the router or router that's bringing the internet into the building, and the issue lies there. Maybe the problem is at the other end in the data center where the video is getting streamed from. We don't really know. All we really know is that there is a connection problem. And so that's what I want to talk to you today about, is your connection with your audience. So when you're delivering a presentation of whatever sort to an audience, what is the connection? What's the medium? What's the network across which you're going to relay that information to the audience? Well, here's my answer to you. It is the rapport that you have with your audience. I firmly believe that the channel that you have between you and your audience is based on the rapport that you create with them. Further, I believe if you don't go to the trouble of creating that channel, of broadening that channel and maintaining that channel, even enhancing that channel throughout the duration of your presentation, you're going to have trouble. Because not only is it going to be difficult for you to transmit your information to the audience, but it's going to be difficult for your audience to transmit their feedback to you. So the broader you can make this channel, the more bandwidth, if you like, that you can get between you and your audience, the better things are going to get. So how do we establish a rapport with our audience? Well, I would suggest that it starts actually before you ever get in front of the audience. When you're thinking about the purpose of your presentation and you're planning your presentation, this is where you're considering your audience, and ideally, if you're a pro, you're actually involving your audience at that very early stage. Even when you're thinking about the purpose and the desired outcomes for the presentation, if you can involve your audience, you're going to start a dialogue with them to test out the kind of outcomes that you think are needed from the presentation. And in doing so, you're actually establishing rapport even at that stage. But of course, when you get in front of your audience face to face, that's another great opportunity to open that rapport channel and broaden it out. Now, before we think about how to make rapport, let's think about things that can break rapport. So here's a few. Now, imagine if you're going to deliver a presentation to an audience of bricklayers, okay? That's the job today. You're going to be chatting with bricklayers and you're going to be talking to them about bricklaying. Imagine if they all showed up in their work clothes, you know, their shirts and jeans and whatever, and then you showed up in a suit with highly polished shoes, a nice tie, maybe even a bow tie. That would break rapport. And you can see that the reason is obvious. It's because of the disconnect between the presenter and the audience. And so using the kind of language that your audience are used to using, dressing in an appropriate way, and sharing stories about your experience that's in the same realm as the audience that you're speaking to are all going to be very, very helpful. So you're working on not only creating rapport, but you're going out of your way to make sure you don't break rapport. So your appearance, your language, and also your mode of communication. If your voice is not loud enough, that is a difficulty. And so if you know that you've got a quiet voice, use some kind of amplification. It's all about establishing, maintaining, and enhancing rapport with your audience. And if you were to look up the dictionary definition of rapport, which I did, I went to dictionary.com and had a quick look. One of the things it mentions is connection. So the connection between you and your audience is based on rapport. Now, I'm sure you can Google lots of other things about creating rapport, making rapport, and not breaking rapport. But what I wanted to highlight to you was this: the importance of rapport in the first place, creating it before you even see your audience, and then when you do see your audience, making sure that rapport is absolutely the most important thing on your mind, especially at the beginning. Now, another way of creating rapport is to make sure your audience feel that you're going to do something with them and not to them. And so I've mentioned this in other videos, but I think it's highly important whenever you're making a presentation to an audience. One of your early slides, or one of the early things that you're going to say to them if you're not using slides, is you're going to express the outcomes that you're wanting to get from the presentation. And so let's pretend that you are using slides. One of these slides will say, here's the agenda, or here's what I'm hoping to cover during this presentation. And you'll stop and you'll say to the audience, how does that sound? Or is that okay? And you're going to gain their agreement. Because in gaining their agreement, you're building rapport with the audience. Now, before I finish, I wanted to tell you about a terrible thing that I saw happen once many years ago, and it was some training that I'd bought in. I'd actually hired a training company to deliver some specialist radio training to an audience in the company I was working for at the time. I was the training manager in this telecoms company, and it was a wireless telecoms company, so there was a radio element, and we'd got this trainer in from this highly respected training company to talk about the radio interface. And this guy was an expert. He knew exactly what he was talking about. However, what I observed was that he didn't go out of his way to create a rapport with the audience. And so over 3 days worth of training, it was only on the third day, when there was a warmer relationship between the trainer and the audience, that the audience felt that they could ask questions and get into more of a dialogue with the trainer. In fact, actually, it was near the end of the third day. Now, at the time, I didn't necessarily have the vocabulary or the thought processes to articulate exactly what I'd seen happening. But now when I look back, I know exactly what the problem was. It was that the trainer did not go out of his way to create rapport, to make a friendly environment, to welcome questions and welcome interaction, and therefore make that rapport channel as big, as wide, and as full of bandwidth as possible. And that was the issue. So my message today is, whatever kind of presentation you're doing, always think about the rapport, the connection between you and your audience, because the bigger, the better, the wider that is, the better your presentation is going to go. Not only the information that you're giving, but the feedback you're receiving. And when I say that, I'm not just talking about questions and comments from the audience. I'm talking about their facial expressions, whether they've got their arms folded, all of those kind of things. You're going to get more of that come back to you, and so you can read it better the broader you've made that rapport. I know that's going to be useful for you. I know that when you think about rapport with your audiences, it's going to have a very positive effect on all of your presentations. But here's the thing, I know even more than those two. I know that when you use it, when you build rapport enhancing mechanisms into your presentations, that you will definitely reap the rewards of being a geek that can speak. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.